Today we're starting out with this spalted piece of oak. Spalted is just a fancy word for somewhat rotted. So this wood started to rot, and the bark is really not that attached, so really won't hurt you too bad. You might want to put your face shield on just because these chunks of loose bark can come up and hit you in the face. Have your safety glasses on or face shield. They really won't hurt you too bad, but it is kind of annoying. You could choose to remove that bark with a draw knife or a little hatchet or something before you put it on the lathe, but I choose to just risk it and have the chunks fly at me real quick. Here I'm just using a roughing gouge to get the rough shape of this tree. You can get a catch here because you really have end grain on that slope that's kind of pointing in parallel directions. So you have to make sure with that roughing gouge that you kind of do have some bevel support and you're pushing towards the tip there, the tip of the tree. Play around with it. If you get a catch, it won't hurt you, but you'll see that it is a little bit advanced technique that I was using with that roughing gouge to not get it to catch. Here I'm just using a small parting tool and then following up with this bigger beading and parting tool just to remove the material here to get the size of the trunk that I want. You'll see that I come back and adjust some of these things later. I really just make these things and try to make them pleasing to the eye, and so you just don't know until you get finished what the final design is going to look like. I'm using a skew chisel here just to mark some symmetrical points for this tree. Sometimes I'll use a parting tool and just part this down to the size of the trunk that I want, and sometimes I'll do this type of a design. This one is a little more difficult, and it's a good time to practice the skew chisel. I'm still not good with the skew chisel. Luckily, I did this project without getting a catch, but if you get a catch, it's something to learn from. I sometimes ruin pieces that I've spent a few minutes on, but how are you going to get better if you don't grab the tool and use it? So on small projects like this that I'm not spending hours and hours on, I like to use them to practice some tools that I need practice with. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting a little bit better with the skew, but still not great with it. You'll notice that I have a short video out making this tree, and I kind of did that with the mushroom too. You can ignore that if you're here for instructional videos, but there's certain people that don't really want to hear me talk about how I do these things, and I was just trying to reach a different audience with some relaxing, shorts that are less than a minute, kind of sped up in like 8 times speed, so people can watch it with a little bit of relaxing music. So that's what you'll see with the shorts. Trying to reach a different audience there, and I'm putting those in a playlist. So if someone just wants to sit down and relax and watch me make several things in short videos, that's kind of what I was doing there. So bear with me if you are a full-time subscriber and prefer to see more detailed instructional videos. Here I grabbed the detail gouge. I'm much more confident with the detail gouge than I am with the skew chisel. So when I get down to the end of a project, I don't want to mess it up with a skew chisel, so I grab the detail gouge. Pretty confident that I won't get a catch with it because I've used it so much. Here I'm making the trunk just a little bit smaller. Thought it needed to be a little smaller. Fine tuning just a few pieces of tear out there. Going to sand it a little bit, and then I'll put some of the wood butter on this tree. Doesn't look like much here, but you'll see when I put the wood butter on, the grain patterns of this spalted oak really nice. And it was really cool that I got to get this piece of wood from a local state park, Lake Hope State Park. They had a free firewood pickup, and I found some really neat pieces, some beech, some spalted oak, and some other woods that I will be able to make things for a few years. So it's really cool to be able to make something from a local state park that people can visit and have memories of. And now I've got some products that they can take made from trees there. You can see the grain patterns. Really cool. Here I'm going to part this off. Like I said, sometimes I will just cut this off with a saw. This time I chose to part it off. It's a little wobbly because I pulled it out of the chuck a little bit because I needed just a little bit more wood to make that base the size I wanted. Just cutting the last 1/4 inch off, and then I'll just sand the bottom to make it perfectly flat. Look at that grain pattern of the spalted oak. I love it. Took it to the local flower shop where I sell things, and it didn't make it to the shop. Someone grabbed it before we made it there, so it was a hit already. Thanks for watching.